So if the Democrats fail to take back Congress, there's one group that we should blame for it, and it's the New York Court of Appeals. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So to be sure, I'm actually pretty happy with the results from the midterm election. Obviously, I would have been happier if it had been a clear win for the Democrats holding on to both the Senate and the House. But with all the prognostications of doom that have been out there, the fact that it's looking like the Democrats are going to hold on to the Senate, and they could hold on to the House, and if the Republicans win either of those, at this point it will be by the skin of their teeth, is quite a contrast to the predictions that we were hearing leading up to Election Day. So much for a red wave, more like a red ripple, as Joe Biden put it. The sad truth of the matter, though, is that the Democrats would actually be in an even much better position for holding on to the House were it not for redistricting. We all know about the gerrymandering that Republicans engaged in Florida, where Ron DeSantis actually argued that the gerrymander the Republican legislature had put together wasn't extreme enough for him, and he pushed for there to be only one majority-minority district in the entire state. We also know about what happened in Ohio, where the voters passed a constitutional amendment banning gerrymandering and appointing an independent commission to engage in redistricting with a clear mandate to try to match the congressional delegation with the partisan makeup of the state. But the Republican legislature rejected the independent commission's proposal and submitted their own map, which was struck down 3 times by the state Supreme Court under the leadership of the Republican Chief Justice. And yet, because of Republican intransigence and finding a friendly U.S. District Court judge, this map that was repeatedly rejected by the court as being unconstitutional, according to the referendum passed by the voters, is the map that Ohio used in this election. Now, in general, like most Democrats, I'm opposed to gerrymandering by either party. Frankly, I would love to see a system where we either have districts set by some nonpartisan commission, the way we do in a number of Democratic states now, or frankly, we just do away with congressional districts and have everybody vote statewide. This process of gerrymandering whereby politicians pick their voters rather than vice versa has got to end. But given how aggressively the Republicans were gerrymandering in places like Florida and Ohio, Democrats had to counter this effort somehow, some way. And so what we had to do in certain states where Democrats control the process, we had to engage in our own gerrymandering, basically to counter what the Republicans were doing. That's what happened in Illinois, for example, and what the Democrats were trying to do in New York. Now, as it happens, the New York Court of Appeals stepped in, though, and said that the gerrymander that the legislature had come up with, in which 22 of 26 congressional districts would likely be Democratic, was unlawful and had to be rejected. As a result, the court appointed a special master, essentially a political scientist who's expert in redistricting, with the mandate to draw a fairer map. What he came up with is indeed a fairer map, which generally I would applaud, in which the district lines went from being 4 districts likely Republican to being more like 10 districts likely Republican. Well, now we see the results of those efforts, and it isn't pretty. Look at this breakdown of the different House races across New York State. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 districts. 11 districts that have either gone Republican or are likely to go Republican. They just haven't been called at this moment when I'm recording this video. Now, in a situation where the Republicans are predicted to have the majority by as few as 5 congressional seats, this redistricting process that appears to have handed 7 congressional seats to the Republicans might well be responsible for handing the House of Representatives to the Republicans. Now, again, in general, I'm opposed to gerrymandering, and I support national legislation to get rid of it, as do most Democrats, by the way. It passed the House, of course, and would have passed the Senate were it not for the filibuster. Republicans, though, have opposed it because, frankly, with gerrymandering, it's the only way they can win. But in the current environment, where you need to look at the big picture, the national picture, where Republicans are gerrymandering as aggressively as they can, the only way that Democrats can fight back is to fight fire with fire. In other words, to do their own gerrymandering. And the fact that the state court stepped in and imposed a fairer map is a total contrast to what happened in Ohio, where the court sent back the map 3 times to the legislature. And yet still, the legislature got the gerrymandered map that they demanded, despite the fact that they have a constitutional amendment banning it. And that's the problem, where we Democrats, we play by the rules, and Republicans cheat. And to the extent that we tie our own hands behind our back, that essentially just opens the door for the Republicans to take advantage of us. Well, if you want to see more about how messed up the redistricting process was in Ohio and New York, check out this video over here. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's talk about it. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.